All right, there we go. Okay, so let's do something that we were talking to Adam suggested last week. So let's do Nats warm up. You know what's funny is how these things shift too. Like these chops and coffee. Like some people are just super regular, and then they just like they're like, I've had enough. And like new people come in, and like it's just weird how this chops and coffee is progressing. Like okay, so Nat's warm up is this, just an eighth note warm up with accents, and then once we'll repeat this with our backwards hand. Yeah. So it's the same. These three measures are the same, and then it does it on the and of one and the and of three. And then again, same all the way down, and then and of one, and then on beat three. And then there's a rest so you can get your mind around switching. So we'll do the repeats as written, and then it flams instead of accents. So you're flamming on those beats. Then it diddles on the accent instead of accenting. Still eighth notes though. Diddles, 16th note diddles. Same thing. This one ends a little bit different though. And of one, and then and of two, so that you can end on three. And then you're diddling everything in the middle. So you're keeping the accents the same, but all the other notes are diddles. All right. And then we'll repeat that one backwards. Then what do we got here? Flams with a diddle. So like a flam tap kind of thing. That's going to be hard for me. This one does that. And of one, and of two, the diddle ends on three. And then flams with the diddles in the middle. Oh boy. Oh my goodness, what is this? Hold on. Okay. All right, got it. Okay, so this is going to be extensive. But we'll start here. I think it's hard for me to like keep it going. So let's see if we can keep it going. Let's see if we can do the repeats and then move on to the next one. But then once we get like to this one, I'll have to stop so I can move the mouse up. Now with this, I'm going to try to do, instead of an eighth note ostinato that we've been doing, I'm going to try to do a quarter note ostinato, all right, on my feet. So while I'm playing eighth notes and these patterns with my hands, all right? So everybody, if you want to do that, I'm going to attempt this. You might hear me mess up because this is pretty new for me. I've gotten so locked in with the eighth note ostinato, and I've never even done this exercise with an ostinato. So, but doing a quarter note, it really reverses what your brain is just like, doesn't know what to think. So at least for me. So let's give that a shot. Anybody with us streaming, thank you for streaming with us if you're watching, and welcome to pull up a practice pad and try this with us. And you'll be able to kind of get the rhythm. If you can't read it, you'll be able to get the rhythm of that. It's duck it, duck it, got it, duck it, duck it, got it, duck it, duck it, got it, got it, got it. This is also one of the Patreon lessons, $5 a month. If anybody who wants to jump on there, I explain this and go through the whole thing. So bunch of cool lessons up there if anyone streaming with us wants to sign up for that. All right, so let me get a metronome. Oh man, this is going to be so hard. Why did I do this one first? This is a pretty, like, everybody in this group would probably have no problems doing this at like 100, I think. So that's our feet. And then our hands. Ducka, ducka, got it, ducka, ducka, got it. 1, 2, ready, go. Left, Ah. Flams. Left. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. Diddles. Left. We're going to stop here. Very nice. Okay, let me move this up. Not bad. I hope everybody's still with me. Confusing.
Every time I switch hands, I switch feet.
That's exactly one of the issues that I have too. Really like messes with my head, man. Doing this slow ostinato on quarter notes. Wow. All right, now we're diddling in the middle. I'm not trying to tell myself what I'm gonna do, but I'm just looking at this and this is gonna be hard. All right, let's try it. Starting on 25. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, hey. Left. All right, some flams. Ah. There we go. Ah, sorry. Oh my gosh. I really kind of messed that up. That was hard. All right. And here's the last one. Oh, this one. What the heck? Let me get this straight. What is this one? Okay. 1, 2, ready and go. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. Man, I butchered that. I can't figure out the left-handed one, so there it is. Oh my God, that's hard. That's hard for our first warm-up. I keep going to the left. What the heck? Oh yeah. No. There we go. Okay. Let's try that. First of all, how did everybody do on that? Is everybody like good? I mean, we've done this little iffy. We've done this warm up a lot before. This bottom part is kind of new. So, but the eighth note stuff, we've kind of ran this warm up into the ground. It's one of my favorite ones. So
I did so bad it's hard to describe.
that's okay. So I was gonna say let's do it again, but like faster if everybody got it. But we can do it again a little bit slower. So let's meet in the middle. I have it at 120, but let's do it at like 110.
So
does everyone feel like it's prescribed what the actual sticking is? I mean, it's not notated, so I mean, not towards the bottom, like the doubles and flams interchanging.
Yeah, so it's implied here that it's supposed to, when you repeat, you're supposed to switch. So you're supposed to.
I mean the bottom where there's like the doubles and the flams and the black part. That like that bottom line. I mean, there's a few ways to play that, right? Or do you this?
Yeah, because you're so like the thing that what makes it hard for me is doing these, right, left, and then a flam on your left or whatever, like that's really, so you're doing like three. It's really good for But
the last line, I was just trying to say it to myself, like flam diddle flam diddle diddle flam diddle. It was like I don't know if that would actually help me do it, but I was like, I don't know. I would have to sit with that for like an hour and do it at like 10.
This one is the only thing that helps me is knowing that those accents don't really change, even though there's no accents here, but it still sounds the same. They're just, everything around it is kind of changing. Da 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 da. That rhythm is kind of, I've had to like sit with that rhythm because I'm not like, we've worked on this so much that like I'm not really like, if I had to sight read this, there's no chance. If this is like my first day looking at this, there's no chance I'm getting through that. I'm like breaking it.
It's really cool because the meat of it is just alternating eighth notes, and then you're just like seasoning it with flams and diddles. So, it's pretty cool.
Okay. But, so for 41, you're doing a right flam, and then the diddle's your left?
Yeah. Right flam, diddle, right flam, diddle, diddle, left flam.
Okay.
So right. Yeah. So if you're doing a diddle here, and then you have to do a flam, that's 3 notes on your left, or 2 notes in a grace note, but you know what I mean, 3 strokes before you hit this like so.
Okay. Okay. I was doing the other way. I was doing the right flam and diddling with the right hand right after. For some reason, it feels more natural to me.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. But it's like Brian was saying, like it just keeps adding variations, so it still holds that sort of template of right. Yeah. Okay, I get it.
That's what you're saying though, Adam. There's because that sounds exactly the same, Jeffrey. But it's like
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. This is what I love about being in a room with a bunch of drummers because I didn't even think about that. I thought, yeah, we're playing the same sticking as up here. But we're supposed to, according to what I had in my mind. But there is other ways to do this to make it sound right. And it's, I mean, like I said, it isn't technically specified, but it's kind of implied that that's the exercise to play that sticking in different ways. But it's up to you guys, man. So that's how I'm doing it though. Right-handed flam, left diddle, right-handed flam, left, right, then left-handed flam. That's on the and, yeah. So that's really hard, man. All right, cool. Let's try it. Okay. I'm gonna say let's attempt. I'm gonna attempt it at 120. Okay. Same thing with that quarter note ostinato. The quarter note ostinato is really what's like messing with me today. That's so fun though. It's so cool to like lock into that. All right. Oh boy. 1, A 2, a ready, go. Left. Ah. Flams with a right hand lead. Left. Diddles. Okay, let's move it up here. I started psyching myself out like, am I playing eighth notes on my kick? Did I go back to that? All right, let's go all the way to this measure here with the repeats. Here we go. 1, a 2, starting with our right. Left. Ah. Ah, sorry. Oh. There we go. Whew. Oh my gosh. So here we go. Here's the hard one. What is this one again? Okay. 1, 2, ready, go. I'm switched. Man. All right, so I did it all the way down until I switched to the left on this one, and then that messed me completely up. Oh my gosh, that's so hard. Again, like marching band guys, drum corps guys are like, "What are you guys talking about? This is so easy." Wow.
I think part of the reason marching band guys sound bad on drum set is because flams are such a huge part of their vocabulary that when they get on drum set, they end up flamming everything and sounding like shit. And I believe deeply that one of the biggest problems with drumming is that students are taught flams instead of unisons. I mean, aren't we all after unisons? I mean, all I hear is tight unisons when I hear Gad or any of my favorite drummers, like their unisons are within 2 milliseconds. When they mean to hit something together, it's together. And it's like all this flam stuff, it's great for the hands and stuff, but it just seems like it's teaching us to sound bad. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I love flam fills, but I hear what you're saying though. Like, yeah. But I love like the Vinny, those kind of flams, or the Blujda, flam fill. But then I do love like the Tony Williams, like, like the, those are really cool. Like in fives, those are, I like that kind of stuff where it's like in unison, it's together, and it's amazing.
Yeah. So how much do we practice unisons between our hands and feet? Like, does anyone work on exercises making sure that their left hand and their right foot hits together in varying patterns?
I
attempt, yeah. That's the hard thing, is to not flam when you're supposed to. We have this. We haven't done this one in a long time. Let me pull it up. Oh man, I know I'm not going to be able to get this. This is the one that Nat was like, we should be reading this all the way down, not stopping on each measure. And I'm like, I can't do that, Nat. I can't do that. Okay, let me find it. Let me see. Where is it? Not Rock Dog. Here we go. Let me get rid of this. So I won't be able to do this. I haven't worked on this, so I won't be able to do this all the way down, but I will be able to take it measure by measure if you guys want to do this one. This is I call it the cheesy bread challenge. So 2 16th notes and an eighth note on your right. But when you get to this one is really good because it's like flam taps, but you're not supposed to flam. So see, I can't do it. There we go.
So that's exactly what I'm talking about. So, okay, imagine you work on all these flam taps, and then you go to a thing like this where you're supposed to play unison, and you can't. And what you're doing, you're training your muscle memory to flam. And
right.
So that's like this bigger concept of like, I think that we should teach unisons first and then learn to flam. Because I mean, flams teach you to sound loose and also rush, because the flam note always comes behind the note. And so you're always teaching your body to rush. And I was like, I don't know. This is an awesome exercise coming up. I love this one. Cool.
It's so difficult for me, especially to read it down. I have to take it note or like measure by measure. So I apologize for you guys who want to read it down. You guys are welcome to do it, but I have to, like I said, I have to take it measure by measure and repeat.
I think it's a great discussion that you guys are having between flams and unisons, because it's like they're obviously two separate things that are really closely connected with a slight difference in time, but being able to go back and forth between them that's a skill that takes practice. Like if you just sit down and practice flams and then you transition to practicing unisons, then like I would imagine your mind's gonna like compartmentalize them as separate versus like playing lines of flams and unisons like back to back, and then you just like have the ability to control that. I certainly don't, but it's a cool thing to consider.
Yeah, I think this would be a cool. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think control is the key word. I think that it's about developing vocabulary, developing language. It's like an actor working on accents. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if you can only speak in a British accent, then you're not gonna get that much work. But if you can switch between a bunch of different accents and sound convincing in all of them, then you're going to have, more opportunities to express yourself in the way that is asked of you on a, musical setting.
So that's what I was going to say is I think this would be a cool exercise to do intentionally in unison and then intentionally flamming, because if it's intentional, like you play a flam with confidence on the drums, like where you mean to do it, like those Tony Williams like flams or those Vinnie Colaiuta flams or whatever. Then it's like if it's intentional and with confidence, it's like, man, it could be incredible. But then if again, if you're doing it in unison and you mean it, it's not an accident. It's not like, you know, like when I was just playing like this one, and not intentionally not intentionally playing flams when I'm trying to play in unison. It's like, that's a big difference, right? That's a big difference. So, see that, man. Come on.
Yeah, because I think a big question is like, what is your allowable level or range of fudging a unison? So like absolute 0 millisecond unison is fucking hard for anybody.
Right.
And so, okay, now 1 millisecond, is that still professional or is that still up to my standard? 2 milliseconds, and like at what millisecond range, and you know, on the timeline in Logic or Pro Tools, like what is allowable for us? You know, and so I just, I don't hear anyone talking about like what that, because I think when I hear Steve Gadd, like his unisons are just like, I can't even tell it's 2 notes. It just sounds like an orchestration rather than a unison.
That's it's an interesting subject. That's something that I don't hear. I've never heard anybody really talk about that. It's like a different concept that I'm like, oh, yeah, good.
Yeah, cool.
So,
okay, yeah, I'm searching for it. I love the idea of it because all my favorite drummers, when I hear a unison, it sounds like an orchestra rather than thinking like, okay, there's this grid and I'm trying to get this generally in this time frame of a unison. You know, it kind of seems like really the thing that separates like my favorites from something that sounds like a drummer that's good or whatever is like really how intentional and tight, and then the dynamic balance between unisons.
I go through this a lot with reggae and like ska music, teaching people how to play like a 1-drop reggae beat and putting your side stick and your kick in unison. They always flam that, and it's like, no, you got to put those together. Like you can't not put those together. They're supposed to be like the same note, you know, and like, so very interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. I think it might be a drum centric blind spot, like for set drummers and like you said, marching band drummers maybe, but for percussionists like conga players and timbaleros, those guys they play unison like crazy. Because they're playing, like the timbaleros usually playing the cowbell part plus the other parts, so they have to hit at the same time. They can't flam. I think because we're used to playing individual drum sets pieces at a time. The snare and the hi hat when we put together usually sounds the same, but then you put your hands together on the snare drum, you have 2 different velocities sometimes going on. You're like, oh, so like you adjust to it. So that's pretty cool. Also, piano players. When they practice, this is the thing, like you said, we don't practice this. Piano players, they practice scales and arpeggios, left hand and right hand at the same time. Yeah. They can tell when they're flamming or when they're, not in unison also. So they got that audible thing, which is even better than a snare drum, which goes bang, bang, brah, brah, we can't tell. So that's a cool, I think it's like a blind spot for us also.
Man, that's exactly it. Like every guitar player I know who sounds amazing, they practice long notes. Yeah. And I always wondered why that is. And what they're doing, they're trying to create that unison between plucking and holding down the strings so that when they switch to the next note, it's just really perfect. And so I've been really trying to work on stuff on the drums that other instrumentalists work on.
It's the mental thing also, Yeah.
And so it's like the more unison you are here, the more unison the band will be. Because I mean, like a tight band is playing like perfect unisons. And if we don't focus on our unisons here, like we're not going to be tight in a band. And what did you say, the blind spot? That's
like a blind spot. Yeah, I feel like also horn players, Sam probably knows this also, if you're doing fingerings, you're doing one note with both hands, you're pressing the buttons, you're pressing the those buttons at the same time while you're tonguing the note as well.
Oh yeah,
so that's a thing, like you're not
absolutely
going
That's cool. I was just thinking about
that's actually one of the things that's like young students is the fact that they have to move their hands at the same time in the same way. Otherwise, the air doesn't feel, and you don't get the same motion of air throughout the entire horn. So you have to have your hands in total sync. Otherwise, the instrument doesn't seal in the proper way.
So funny. That's so complicated. I love it. I was just thinking about my mic is in the way here, but I was just thinking about doing like eighth notes with one hand and quarter notes with the other hand. So, and then playing those in unison. but then intentionally flamming, or doing, so that would be like a left-handed flam, so your right hand is going before, but then going back to unison, but then doing a right-handed flam where your left hand is going before, you know, and then back to unison. So like doing a measure. So like, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, then flam on your left, then back to unison, then flam on your right, then back to unison. That's really cool. And then of course switching that to your left. So eighth notes on your left. So whew, that's hard. Man, that talk about like, that's really uncovering and making sure you're like you have control over your sticks and when they're being played. That's
the difference between a drummer and a musician. I think this is really being empathetic to the rest of the band, thinking, okay, some poor bass player has to listen to me like flamming all over the place, and he doesn't know where the beat is. Like those 6 milliseconds, whatever, between the flam. A good bass player who can hear 1 to 2 milliseconds is going to be like, dude, where are you putting it? Yeah. So yeah, man, that's the shit right there.
Cool. That's opened my mind to, man, I want to build some warm-ups based off of that. Because that is like, that's something that, drummers that want to sound clean, drummers that want to sound confident, that's a good exercise for that. And not only like beginner students and stuff like that. Like I would always use the the kick in between to like help them to sound clean and put their notes on a grid. But I never really stopped to think about flamming versus not flamming, yeah. So and that's a simple one where we can try to put our notes, further and further apart and then back in unison. That's really cool, man.
I love this stuff because it's like now you're like analyzing the spectrum of time between the eighth notes or the whatever, like if you're playing at X, said tempo of 120, your eighth notes are whatever, a second apart or half a second apart, right? And so then there's that area between that you can fill with ghost notes, with drags, with flams or not. But we're such drummers analyzing this stuff because we like to. And then like you think you're making music with a band and the other bandmates are aware of what you're doing. And then the people dancing on the dance floor, they have no idea. Like they can potentially feel it, like what you're doing if it's sloppy or clean. But like behind the scenes, like we're thinking about all this stuff, like, oh, like you're like deep in the pocket. You're like, oh, I just got that unison perfect. And the people are just like, the people at the wedding are just like drinking and dancing. And, like different experiences of the music from the player or the listener.
It's something though that will translate into you sounding like confident and and precise, and the people will like notice that the rock solidness of it all, where it's not sloppy. It's something that a lot of people don't think about,
Oh yeah, I think they definitely will get it. They're just not thinking about it. It's like passes through their ear, past their brain,
Yeah, it's the je ne sais quoi. It's that subtle thing that makes some people sound a certain way and others not. You have to be in unison with yourself in order to be in unison with a band you want to play in. There's one thing, like you hear drummers, they'll be playing grooves that have a lot of grace notes and it's not quite grooving. It's like a little inconsistent. And the big question is, how do I work on that? And there's this thing all I practice is this idea of chaperoning, like anything that might be inconsistent, put another limb on it and make it a unison. So like we all do like right foot, right hand paradiddle, like boom, da da ba doom, doom, da da ba doom, doom, da da ba doom. Okay, you got that. Well, now do left hand, right foot unison. And if that's equally tight, and then you know that your paradiddles are even. It's just kind of a logical scientific fact, So
that's kind of the idea behind that, playing the ostinato, but then switching it like you suggested last week is really like really puts that on blast. Like that really like opened my mind too. Playing quarter notes or half notes. I tried to play like eighth note triplets. That was not happening last night. I was working on that. Like I was like, because I'm like terrible at double bass and all that kind of stuff. So that would be a great exercise to play your triplets while you're playing eighth notes on your hands. It's not happening for me yet. But yeah, man, really cool. Like now I'm like obsessing over, wait, are my hands in unison? Wait a minute here.
Dude, it's a huge thing. I mean, like, that thing, like this guy sounds a certain way, this girl sounds a certain way. I think 80% of it is how the dynamic relationship is in a unison and how tight the unison is. That's like such an individual thing.
Well, that you just added the other layer to it is like, even if your unisons are at the same time, but if the velocity is different or the dynamic relationship, it's like, especially if you're playing on two toms, like which one gets the emphasis. That's wild.
Try playing all four limbs at once and just adding accents to each limb. I practice that a lot, and just like all four limbs together, and then with the left foot do like the kind of splash. Like all four together, like pop, pop, joom, splash, splash, bass drum, and just keep all the unisons tight, but like move the accents around the limbs, and then try to do like two, like, okay, accent right hand and left foot together, and just real simple rhythms, but really trying to get it within like 2 or 3 milliseconds. So it sounds like one voice. So it sounds like an oboe and a clarinet playing together, like really perfectly. It's fucking hard, and all it is all four limbs together.
That would be so cool to do that at a shed where the other drummer's like blasting out speed and you're just playing like the most simple stuff, but perfectly.
That's my whole goal is like, yeah, I might not be able to play like your, 30-second note triplet bass drum variation drum fill that you're doing. That's like crossed over, like, but I'm going to try to play everything I play intentionally and like correct, and that's actually, it's like such a different approach at sheds that these kids, like none of these kids are ever none of this stuff has ever crossed their mind. It's all, how fast could I do this kick drum, this combo, it is, in playing it like, this is kind of what that whole discussion that we're having about flurries and what's his name? Hutch. Yeah. Is Hutch was like, get some facility, get some like vocabulary, like that's what he's saying. All these dudes are just copying each other and learning combos, but none of them are really like, some of them have facility and dynamics and stuff, but they don't play music. They just are playing with other drummers,
Yeah, they're just racing around the kit.
So fundamentals, man, this is some cool stuff. When you take out your hands and like you said, put in your kick and try to play your do that like flam exercise thing that I was just doing with your kick. Oh my gosh, that's a totally different dynamic. Or like I was just doing like eighth notes, and if you see my hands, my right or my left hand is a little bit wobbly compared to my right, and that's why it starts flamming. But if I correct that, let's see. There we go. It's still flamming, but then I get off, and now I'm doing a roll instead. It gets so off. There we go. So you that's a good exercise to sit in front of the mirror and try to like make sure your hands are correct. Like every drummer that I've studied with is like, look at your hands, make sure your hands look like they're doing the same thing. If one hand is like this and one hand is like this, you're gonna play differently. They're gonna play different, but and so playing just like eighth notes or 16th notes in unison and not flamming, man, that can work wonders for your technique and work wonders for your control. And then
there are essentially 6 relationships in flamming. So if you have your right hand right or left hand right foot left foot, there's this relationship, there's this relationship, this one, and this one, and those are kind of even. Those are the more like kind of more easily accessible. But those diagonal relationships, the right hand and the left foot, and the left hand and the right foot, like, so you take a paradiddle and go between hands and feet, and then move the relationship this way, but left hand, left foot, right hand, right foot, and then do the diagonal. That's the one, like well, you can't see my feet, but yeah, do paradiddles with like right hand, left foot, and then with the other hand being left hand, right foot.
Oh, I see. So like in unison. So
yeah.
Oh God.
So right hand, left foot. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I never thought.
Dude, that's the relationship. Like, man, anything that's because it's training both sides of your brain. That's the whole neuroplasticity thing that Dan is talking about. Like really getting both sides of the brain to work together, because that's like this diagonal thing. At left hand, right foot, like, and that's in disco. Like doom, ka. Do you hit 2 and 4 like perfectly together every time? And if you like really work out this diagonal relationship of unisons, man, your playing just really tightens up. It's awesome.
So when you hear these great jazz drummers, like especially modern day jazz drummers, like I always think of like Ari Honig or Bill Stewart, or they have
I just talked to Ari yesterday about this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what he's working on, like really making sure like jazz time, the hi-hat and right hand are perfectly together. Yes. And all your left hand and right foot is I went to school with him. We like talked about this a lot over the years, but yeah, I mean, he still works on this. It's really like, okay, you have it here and the feet, you have like sort of the outside of the box. That's all. It's pretty easy. But once you start getting that like interlimbed or unison independence, I kind of like that. but yeah, I mean, that's like, he really is particular about making sure snare and kick drum is tight together.
Yeah, he's really dialed on that. And that, I mean, that's always confusing to me, the relationship that they have between the ride and their hi-hat, and that how that's like, rock drummers or whatever, in my case, like reggae ska drummers are not thinking of this as its own thing to play notes on, and the way that these guys will flam, or do this stuff in solos with their right hand and their right foot, or with their kick and their left foot, and it's incredible. But that's where it will help. And it's all intentional, right? Man, that's crazy.
Whew. Wow. My head turned into that emoji with the top blowing off of it. I was like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah. Deep, man. I love it.
Yeah, anytime you're working on jazz coordination and you're like doing quarter notes in the right foot and you're reading text in the left hand, try reading the left hand part with the left hand and the right foot together. And not only is it good for your independence and your unisons, it makes sure you're not rushing or dragging, because you can be certain you can be regulated on a psychological level. It gives you this regulation, knowing that when I intend to do this, this happens. And so, yeah, that left hand, right foot thing it's heavy. Yeah.
I have a little tiny tambourine on my hi-hat, the top of it. And sometimes when I'm playing and I want to do like quarter notes or whatever, I try to close the hi-hat without making a hi-hat sound, just so you only hear the tambourine. And that's like, I have to devote so much attention to my left foot just to get it clean, and not.
Dude, like Brian, you got to get this set up. The left. So everything that you play on your left foot with the tambourine, get like the jam block version. And so the jam block is like loud as fuck. Right. And then try to lock in the jam block on 2 and 4 with a metronome so that that's perfect. And then play everything else. And then you'll know where your time is. Like, okay, if I can play 2 and 4 on the left foot on a jam block to a click track, and all the other 3 limbs are where I want them, then your time's good. I mean, it's like, you don't have to worry about it. It's a big thing with imposter syndrome. Like, if my unisons are tight and I'm holding the time down with my left foot to, like, it just gives you that sort of knowledge, like, okay, I've done the work. I'm in unison with myself. And like, I know now that I can like integrate into the band because I'm solid and regulated here. It's right. So heavy, man. Yeah, man.
I gotta tighten up.
We need to start like charging people to come to this as a masterclass, dude. This is like this is so good. It's getting so deep, and it's like opening up my mind. But it's like, man, love.
No matter what, like even like just basic rock beat, like making sure the unison is there first before you go to that next level. Like make sure that like on whatever you're doing, be certain the unison is there, and then you can like progress to the next thing.
Yeah, man. This is useful stuff. Awesome, guys. Well, man, what are we going to talk about Wednesday? I can't wait. Everybody streaming with us, man. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for showing up today too, as well. Man, awesome chops and coffee. Some stuff to get your mind working and stuff to work on this week. If you guys are anyone streaming with us, that's what I'm going to be working on this week and trying to develop some lessons on that. That's really cool. So that's probably going to be a Patreon lesson too. Just touching the surface on that. That's really, really good stuff. Good stuff, man. So, anyways, anybody wants to join Chops and Coffee, just go ahead and use the link on drumbrigade.com. Everybody, you guys here in the room, man, thank you so much for coming today, and I hope you guys all have a great week, and a positive week, and hope you guys, bring this positive vibe to other people today or this whole week. So, thanks again, and I'll see you guys all on Wednesday. Yeah.
Good to see you all.
Wednesday.
Later.
Have a good one.